Welcome to Comfort Crime with Lindsay Sanchez, a cozy mystery podcast where no actual crimes have been committed. Today, we'll continue Death at Dogwood Lake, a novella about Georgia Lennox, whose perfect first date turns into a perfect nightmare when she discovers a dead body, and instead of finding romance, she's pulled into a murder investigation where hometown secrets run deeper than the alpine lake where it all started. If this is your first time here, welcome, and please start with episode 1, chapter 1. There's a link to it in the show notes. For everyone else, we'll continue to chapter 2, but first, an update. Okay, the podcast adventure continues. I have to tell you, I am absolutely buzzing with excitement. We are only on chapter 2 of the podcast, but I'm already having the time of my life going through this story chapter by chapter with all of you. There's something so magical about experiencing a mystery this way. It's like we're all gathered around a cozy fireplace, unraveling the clues together. Every comment, every theory you share with me makes this journey even more special. So thank you for being here. Thank you for coming on this awesome adventure with me. Your enthusiasm is the fuel that keeps me going, and I genuinely can't wait to see where our next chapter takes us. Death at Dogwood Lake, Chapter 2. Georgia froze, her feet unable to move her away from the limp body before her. Her mind went blank, her vision blurred. "Okay, breakfast is ready," Jake said, walking behind her. He put his hand on her shoulder. "Are you okay?" Georgia didn't answer, couldn't answer. Her eyes fixed on the hat floating in the water next to the body. The logo was unmistakable. Dogwood Lake Community College. Jake's eyes must have found what she was so focused on because he stopped cold. Though her back was to him, she could almost hear the smile falling from his face. He let his hand drop from her shoulder. Is that what I think it is?" He took a few steps past her and then paused, like her, unable to go farther. "Oh my gosh," he ran back to her. "Oh my gosh, that's... I know," she said. She didn't want him to have to say the words, didn't know if she could listen to the words coming out of his mouth. "I know," she repeated. What must have only been seconds felt like an eternity while the two of them stood there, their backs to the birthday picnic he had planned, their faces to the horror before them. "What if..." Jake started and stopped his sentence like he couldn't get a full one out. "Is there a chance that..." She knew what he was asking. Is there a chance that he's still alive? Is there any hope that he's not 100% dead? "I don't think so," Georgia said, physically cringing at the thought of touching whoever was stuck between those logs. "We have to check," Jake said, retracing his steps towards the lake, slowly, tentatively. She followed one step behind, her heels sinking into the soft mud the closer they got, squishing between her toes and pushing up over the front of her white sandals. Before they reached the body, a loud crack sounded on the other side of the lake, like a fallen branch or a rock dislocated from the side of the mountain. Something large falling. Georgia and Jake jumped back, grabbing hands reflexively and standing in stunned silence. They waited, listening, their ears straining for another noise. In the distance, movement in the trees caught Georgia's eye. Something or someone was over there. She broke the silence first. Maybe it was being the daughter of a cop, or maybe it was that she had had a few more minutes to process. Either way, she took Jake's hand and pulled him back to the table. She didn't want to alarm Jake, but they weren't safe. Not at this mountain lake with this body, and certainly not with whoever was on the other side of the forest. They needed to get out of there. "We need to call the cops. We need to call 911, she said. Jake looked up, his eyes confused and hurt in a way that Georgia had never seen before, and a way she never wanted to see again. He nodded slowly, silently. He could feel it too. "We need to hurry." They both looked down at her dirty white sandals and mud-covered toes. "You're never going to make it in those," he said, like he was stating the obvious. She was less convinced. She didn't have a lot of other options. Running barefoot down the mountain didn't seem any more realistic. "Climb on my back," Jake said. "I'll carry you. It'll be faster." As strong as Jake was, Georgia seriously doubted he could run faster with her on his back than they could with her on her feet wearing actual shoes, as impractical as they were for hiking. "I don't think that's going to work." Georgia backed away, their hands still locked. "Georgia," Jake turned to her. The confusion and fear that had clouded his face was gone. "We need to get out of here. We need to get safely down the mountain. I can carry you." He was so sure, so confident. "Can you climb on my back? Can you hold on? I'll get us to safety." Georgia didn't hesitate again. She slipped off her ruined shoes, and after he'd widened his stance and held his arms ready to catch her, she jumped onto his back. "Hold on tight," he said, placing her arms around his shoulders, his hands steady on her legs. In any other situation, this would have been the most romantic thing she could think of. But now, there was no romance. There was nothing other than the need to get down the mountain and away from whatever poor soul had ended up face down in Dogwood Lake. They didn't talk. Jake handed Georgia his phone, and she pulled out hers, holding on to him with one arm while cradling both phones in the other hand. She kept her eyes on the bars, waiting for any sign of service. They might not have to get all the way down the mountain before calling. Jake ran carefully and smoothly while picking up speed. His feet were sure and light, like he'd run this trail 100 times, like he could do it with his eyes closed. And like her weight was a burden, but not unbearable. They ran past the trees, over the dusty trail. When they came to the field of wildflowers, Georgia wanted to close her eyes. She didn't want what they'd just seen corrupting the beauty and joy of this place. But even as they flew past it, she knew if she ever came back, it would be a long, long time from now. "Are you okay?" Jake finally asked, after putting a good distance between them and the lake. Georgia nodded. "Is that a yes or a no?" Jake said, almost a smile in his voice, "I can't see you." "I'm okay," Georgia said, though she didn't know if it was true. She would be okay. She had to be okay, at least for now. "We're almost there," he said. The bars on the phone were empty, but not completely crossed out. There was a chance an emergency call would go through. "Hold on." She tapped his shoulder. I think a call could go through. We could try it." Jake didn't slow. If anything, he sped up. "No." "No?" I'm going to get you to the car, to safety, before we stop. Jake, we should call as soon as possible. Whoever's up there, if there's the slightest chance. There's no chance, he said, his breath coming out more rugged and heavier now. His breathing labored from the exertion of running down with extra weight and emotion. We both know there's no chance. He was right. She knew he was right, but it still made her stomach twist and her throat tighten. We need to call, Georgia said, the end of the trail now in sight. Jake didn't respond. He pushed forward. Jake, Georgia tapped his shoulder again. We need to stop. We need to call 911. We need to call the cops. He didn't stop. I'm not stopping until you're safely driving away. Georgia could see the car, the reddish-brown tint peeking through the trees. Theirs was still the only car in the parking lot. Whatever happened today, wherever that body came from, it wasn't by car. Jake, fueled either by the adrenaline of the finish line in sight or fear, ran faster, ducking branches and tree roots. He didn't stop until they reached the truck, and then, placing her gently on the ground, he pulled keys out of his pocket, unlocking the door and opening it. Get in, he said, not looking in her eyes. I'll stay here and wait for the cops. You need to drive straight home. Don't stop anywhere. Don't talk to anybody. Don't do anything until you're locked inside. Do you hear me? I'm not leaving without you. Georgia put the keys back in his hand. There's no way I'm leaving. You stranded in this parking lot. Who knows what's on that mountain? His eyes flashed to her and then darted away. You saw it too. I know you did. It was a mountain lion, a bobcat. It was nothing. Georgia shook her head. Then there's no reason for me to leave. Whoever's up there died alone. They tripped and fell. There's no reason to worry about me. Well, then there's no reason for me to leave. Please. His jaw tightened. Please, Georgia, if anything happens to you, it'll be my fault. I couldn't live with that. And if anything happens to you, you think I could live with driving away, leaving you stranded? You won't leave? Not without you. Georgia pulled out her phone and dialed 911. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a mystery-loving friend or consider leaving a review on your favorite podcast player. Most of all, thank you so much for being here today. I loved it, and I'm already excited for next week.